What is happening, people? Welcome back to the Scarfey Spurs Talk podcast. Yes, another emergency podcast back to back. I don't think we've ever had this before. As Morgan Gibbs-White deal is done out of nowhere. First link to him this morning, done by the afternoon. So today, let's go through the panel that will be helping me get through it to talk all things Tottenham and transfers, including Gibbs-White. Firstly, Haz from Haz Spurs TV. It's been a while. How are you doing?
Yeah. I think I just woken up in a dream, but yeah, I'm doing great. But
yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. I've been on in probably about 12 months, maybe, or something like that. But yeah, thanks for having me on.
Nice to have you back, Benjamin. Welcome back on. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Thank you very much for having me back on.
No worries at all. And Aaron, making your debut. You've done bits of the page and that in the past, some amazing thumbnails, some amazing graphics. Great to finally put a name to the face. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, all good. Happy to be on. A lot of talking points over the past 24 hours. So excited to get into it.
There is a lot. There is an awful lot. So we'll be getting into it. But as always, if you are new to the channel, please do like and subscribe. If you're listening on a podcast platform afterwards, please do drop us a follow and a 5-star review. Tell you what, Haz, I'm going to kick it off with you. Sum up Tottenham's last 24 hours in one word.
Incredible.
It's hard. Incredible. That's a good one. I like that one. Ben, what do you reckon? You got a different word?
Decent. I'd say decent.
Decent.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Aaron?
Mental.
That's a really good one. It certainly has been mental. I'd say ambitious. I think that's something that we've, kind of lacked generally, ambition. But let's get into this imminent signing of Morgan Gibbs-White. Ben, I'll kick it off with you. Are you happy with this signing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, City were after him for a little while, even up to lately, I think. He's a good little player. So, yeah, Forest do produce some good players. So we've had one of them. As much as people might talk about Johnson, he is a good player. They do produce good players, So, yeah, I'm happy to have him on board and see what he can do.
Okay. Aaron, decent signing for you?
I can't complain. I really can't complain. I see a lot of people saying, oh, where's he going to play? How's he going to fit in the team? But when you have a player like Morgan Gibbs-White coming into the team, there's absolutely no negatives to that. I think he's instant quality. He's better than what we have. So even if it is a where can we play, I definitely think he upgrades our midfield anyway, even if we didn't make a new spot for him.
Yeah, I agree with you. Would you go as far as saying it's a statement sign, Aaron?
I'd say Morgan Gibbs-White more statement signing than Kudus was, yeah.
Okay. Haz, I'm going to bring you in on this one. Firstly, how do you feel about the signing? And same question to you, statement signing or not?
Okay, so like I said, I'm buzzing. Like, this is incredible. But these are signs for me that almost because of where we finished last season, and the kind of manager we also brought in Frank, who's very well known to the Premier League. I think I'll call these signings. I say the word incredible mainly because we made them so quickly, or we're doing them so quickly, and at prices which I would deem is reasonable for the club and also on the higher end at the same time. So these are deals that we can get done. It's just the manner in which we're getting them done is what's really making me kind of amazed, really, because normally we take a whole month to sign Porro, for example. We're just doing this in 2 days, right? But for me, with Gibbs-White as a player, I don't know if you guys know Brian Daigle, he loves Gibbs-White, so he's going to be really happy with the signing. But also for me personally, I think he's very versatile. Along with Kudus, they're both versatile. And as I alluded to with Frank, who loves to change formations, I think wherever he puts either of them, and in this case will be Gibbs-White, he'll do well. I mean, he can play in the 10, he can play on the wing, he can play even in the 8. So he's I would call them clever signings because they're Prem proven. We know more than likely they're going to succeed at Spurs because they played in the Premier League before at a very decent level. And obviously Forest did really well last season. So I think it's a great signing, yeah. But statement, I don't know. I think statement for me would be something just a bit bigger, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's a little bit brash to call it a statement signing, I think. Personally, a little bit too. It's a good signing, but I don't know whether it be a statement signing.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. That's decent. Aaron, can I ask, are you surprised that we've kind of, paid his release clause? Usually with Spurs, you think it'd be trying to haggle for a lower fee, but it looks like we've just gone there, according to reports, and paid that 60 million release clause.
Yeah, definitely. It's almost polar opposite. If you just had the Kudus saga, obviously you're trying to haggle him down every bit. You don't want to pay the release clause. at all, trying to get it down. More delays. It was even stalled at one point, I think I saw, because he wanted to really hold out for it. And then day after, you get a deal. First news breaks. 3 hours later, he's paying the release clause. So that's definitely a shock because of the polar opposites you've had. I think it's very unlike Daniel to do anything like that, but I'm happy, definitely happy with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I do share that with you. Ben, can I bring you in on this one? Are you surprised as well that we've signed like another attacking player after Kudus? A lot of people would have said, okay, we brought in Kudus now. I thought we'd stop there. Were you one of them?
No, I think the more the merrier, to be honest. Yeah, no, like, just keep bringing them in. I think we've struggled in that department on quality, like major quality, for a little while. So, yeah, the more the merrier for me.
Okay. Haz, I've got to ask, though, the difficult questions. Do you think the money should be spent in a different area, maybe on a more, I don't know, natural 8 or on a typical 6? Just playing devil's advocate here.
So if we didn't, are you saying basically we didn't sign Gibbs-White, would I sign someone else for the 60 million?
Yeah, would you
So
think
is that
that
you're
some
saying,
people say, look, 60 million, you know, Gibbs-White, great, but I would have like spent that money on getting like someone like an Adam Walton, or it might be as well as we might be lucky and get both.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
some people say that money should be distributed in other areas.
Yeah. I think from what I read, it was Frank's choice to get Gibbs-White, and if the manager wants the player, we should get him. Now, I don't know if you can get into this later on in the podcast, but I was really thinking over like the 2 deals. I know I wasn't on last night; I was just in your chats, right? But I think we made a move from Buemo. He didn't want to come, not because we didn't want to pay the money, because I think we were willing to meet the asking price of 60, 70 million, somewhat. And then I think then they moved for Kudus because he was like the second on the list, for example. And he was another one that Frank wanted. Because obviously if he doesn't want to come, it doesn't matter how much you're going to pay, he's not going to come. And I think with Gibbs-White was kind of like the alternative to Eze. I'm not saying it's a bad way. I just think they tried to talk to Eze and he was like, I'm going to Arsenal. So they moved for Gibbs-White. So I would say that there wasn't really anyone else we could buy with that money, like that kind of player, because if he wanted to get someone like Eze and he didn't want to come, Gibbs-White is like the next best choice. And at the end of the day, it's not because we weren't willing to pay the money. That's what I'm trying to say. It's just because the player just didn't want to come. And if Frank wants him, which I keep reading, then we should get him. Just go get who the manager wants. It's not an unreasonable price. 60 million, I think, is very reasonable in this market. And you're going to get good signing, Premier League proven. So it's a no-brainer, really, I think.
Yeah, I mean, 60 million for a player of that quality in this day and age is peanuts, really.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
It is now. It's certainly changing. I mean, Alanga, for example, for Newcastle, thinks a really good deal, but 55 million is a lot more than I expected. They think they've got a great deal, but time will tell whether they have or not. Aaron, I totally agree with you with your point about that there's no negatives when it comes to signing Gibbs-White. I think we've just got to focus on the fact he's here. It's great. But can you understand that some people look at it and go, I just wish that had been spent on someone who, I don't know, was more naturally 8, I don't know, Jacob Ramsey, or can you understand what people are concerned about?
Well, I was myself before we even knew Gibbs-White was happening, because it came out of the blue. I was saying, right, we got that Kudus signing. We need a 6. That defensive midfielder, link defense to attack. And then I kept reading more and I was seeing people say, oh no, that would fit more with Ange's system. Frank does this double pivot. So 2 8s would work because it's not as defensively challenging. We're not playing that really, really high line as much. So I can see where people are coming from when they say, oh, should be really, it's a lot to activate a release clause. It's going to be a lot. 60 million isn't cheap. But still, I'm still going to stand by this fact that even though I can understand it, it's really difficult to complain about Gibbs-White joining your football club. I think I'm so excited for him.
Should be very, very good. Be interesting to see how he kind of fits in, which leads me on to my next question. And I'll start with you again, Aaron. Where do you think he fits into this team? Like, if I had to ask you, it is really hypothetical. It's really hard to answer, I think, as well, right now before pre-season. You kind of like dream front three going into that first game of the season in the Premier League. Midfield 3, rather.
Yeah, so midfield 3, I'd say, well, obviously we're going to have Kudus out for a fair amount of time. I'm not sure when he's going to be back. But people saying he might play on the right more because it's more inside forwards rather than touchline wingers. But I'd still see him centrally, especially with Kudus signing now. So I'd say we'd have Maddison, he'd be that 10. And then it would be, depending on who leaves, you'd definitely have Gibbs-White in there. So you'd have a double pivot. So you'd have Gibbs-White, and then Basuma's probably off. I'm not sure how he would fit in that system, but it's hard to look past Bergvall after last season. So I'd say Maddison, Bergvall, and Gibbs-White. If you want more balance, you can probably, it's harsh, but take Bergvall out and replace him with Benteke. And then that's a very solid midfield three, I think.
Okay, thank you. Ben, I'm going to ask you in terms of depth in that 10 position, because you've got, for example, Maddison, Kulusevski, Bergvall, now also Kudus, as well as Gibbs-White that can play in that number 10 role. Is it ever, I don't know, a bad thing to have too much cover? Do you think we've like over-prepared in this situation? I'm trying to find some negatives to play devil's advocate here, but it's hard. It's overall a good deal, isn't it?
Well, when you think that, like last season, we were injury FC, then it's not bad. It's not bad to have too much cover, is it? Because you have to account for players that are going to get injured. And in our case, we had a lot of injuries, didn't we? So I don't think it's never a bad thing, especially for us. It might be different this season, but I don't think it's a bad thing to ever have too much cover, personally.
No, that's fair enough. It'd be really interesting to see kind of in pre-season, then we get to that first game of the season, what that lineup kind of looks like, especially that midfield. It's going to be really interesting. Does Bergvall keep his place? Assume Maddison will start. Gibbs-White's got to be in there. So it'll be really interesting. Could be a really attacking as well, kind of like midfield. But Haz, where do you think Gibbs-White fits in for you? Because it's maybe not the most natural fit, but he's got to get in that team.
I see it a different way. I think he could even play in the 10. But this is mainly because I see Bergvall as an 8 more than a 10. Obviously, Bergvall's still very raw. I'm not really. I had the chance to really speak about him on this channel, so I'm just going to be very quick about it. But I think he's more of an 8 than a 10, mainly because the best talent I've seen from him so far is his ball carrying. So I see Bergvall's more of an 8. I think Benteke will be the default 6-ish player. Obviously, there's the possibility of someone else coming in later on, hopefully as well. But for now, I think Benteke's probably going to be the most deep lying of the players, along with, say, someone else like maybe if there's a Gibbs-White or someone else we know with him. But I see Gibbs-White playing as further up the pitch in the 10, really. I know it's probably a bit strange, but I think his qualities are more useful in that position. Now, this could change because if Frank plays a 3-4-3, he could almost play as like an inverted forward. But I think we have a lot of players that can play that position. Obviously, we signed Tell. It's still Son, like all these players, Son, Richardson. So some players will probably go. But I think under Frank, we could play a 3-4-3, a 3-5-2, a 4-2-3-1. All the signs we brought in because Kudus and Gibbs-White so far, they can all play multiple positions. Even Tell can play multiple positions, either an inside forward on the wing. So, which is quite interesting, I think, because it's a certain profile player. So I think personally, I see Gibbs-White as a 10, just based on what I've seen from him. But he obviously could play in the 8, like Aaron said. But I think he'll play in the 10. I think we have Benteke, and maybe if we sign Wharton, Benteke, Wharton, and Gibbs-White, maybe. But we have so many options. I don't know. A lot depends on the formations he'll play. I have a funny feeling Frank might play one formation in Europe and then one formation in domestic, like different formations. But I don't know. That's just not my feeling so far.
Yeah. I think it's a wonderful headache, though, to have, isn't it, as a manager, when you've got lots of depth and lots of options to choose. I think several times last season we were, left picking bare bones and trying to, put a jigsaw together that we didn't have the pieces for. Whereas this season, I think we're hopefully going to be a lot more equipped. Next, I want to move on to, because I think this season, it being last season, and just generally, on this podcast, we've definitely held Daniel Levy, Enoch, and the board to account, whether it be myself, whether it be the guests. And I think rightly so, the majority, if not all of the time. But I think they probably do deserve a little bit of credit, don't they, Ben, in this situation for showing some ambition in the last 24 hours, doing it properly.
Well, I think for me, if you win a European competition and you get in Champions League, you have to bolster your squad. You have to, you have to build on that squad. You have to. That's the way I see it. They have no choice. And at the end of the day, we're Tottenham Hotspur. We're not I know last season we were very low in the league, 17th. But we're not supposed to be a small fry club. We're supposed to be a big team, you know, and we did very well for a good period of time. And then I think the last few years things haven't really worked out so well. But I think we were a big club, and I think we should maintain that. And I think we should get big signings, and I think we should be in the Champions League. But that's just me saying it. But I think we deserve to be on the top table, I think.
Yeah, I think that'd be fair. Haz, I'm going to come to you. I mean, you've definitely been very vocal about the ownership and kind of management upstairs at the club, and I agree with you pretty much most of the time. Do they deserve credit, though, in the situation? Is this what they should be doing, considering, you know, we've got Premier League and Champions League, finally having that depth to compete in more than one competition?
Well, considering Levy said he wanted to win the Premier League and the Champions League, I guess this is his point of, if it is him, I don't know, we'll find out later on, but actually doing it for once, like, you know, actions speak louder than words, so to speak. So he's actually doing something to prove that he wants to win the Premier League and Champions League now. So in this signing profile player, like, he's proving it, I guess, and somewhat. So far so good. We'll just see how hopefully it carries on this trajectory in the window. But what I've noticed the most is that we're signing players before we sell. I think for me that's the bigger thing. Because before you'd hear about, we need to shift this player to bring in that player. I think it's like, this is something we've wanted. For me, this is something I've wanted for about 10 to 15 years. So yeah, hopefully the window carries on like this, and we just build on it and carry on making more signings of that sort of nature, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, same question to you, Aaron. Do you think that there has to be, you know, kind of credit where credit's due?
Yeah, but at the same time, all this talk about the investment that's come in, I don't know if it's true or how true it is, but if that is the case, then I think if you have to, if you've got 300 mil, which is what's been reported, investment into it, you can't just sit on that. You know what I mean? He has to act on it. You've just won a European final against Man United, which does add to it. It is Man United. I know it wasn't a great season, but it's still Man United. And if you want the fans to get behind what you're doing, especially after sacking your manager, that the fans all loved at the end, all that media we were getting, no one wanted him to go at the end of that. By sacking him, and then if we had a really poor summer transfer window, I think it's looking very bad for the start, and you're not going to get the fans on board. But by investing, having the guts to pay a release clause, I think definitely, yeah, he does deserve credit at this point.
Yeah, 100%. Ben, I'll come to you.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you, because Aaron mentions it there about your kind of a cash investment. Do you think it's an outside investment, or do you think it's just an investment from ENIC into the club? You're
never going to really know, are you? To be honest, it's very much sort of on the fence, that kind of thing, isn't it? You don't know how, like, our fan base, there's a divide, isn't there, between the fan base who, like, I wouldn't even say who wants the owners in and who wants the owners out. I think it's more who wants the owners out and who doesn't get into that side of things. Do you know what I mean? People that are just more concentrated on the football. I'm not saying anyone's right or anyone's wrong, but I think there's people that, like myself, I don't really get too drawn into the board side of it. I'm more, these protests, I support them and I think it's fantastic. And if that's the way you feel, then you march down the high road and you sing it loud and say it proud. That's fantastic. It's not really for me. Do you know about? I'd rather just go into the ground. So, I where it comes in investment, I don't really know. I don't really know about that side of things, to be fair with you, mate.
Ben, would you say that the kind of, I suppose, the support, or, you know, has become less for Levy, for ENIC, for the board? Do you think there's becoming, like, you know, that growing frustration? Do you think that's kind of growing? That's what seems to be happening.
Well, I think the Europa League win would have helped them, wouldn't it? Like, it would have helped people get off their back a little bit. But you think, like, there's people that have been going for long time, longer than me, longer than you, longer than everyone, that have been going there, and they've seen it's been stale. So they've got a right to say what they're saying. They want to see a change at the club, and like, everyone's got a right to say what they want to say. Like, if they think they're stale, but I think it would have got them off the hook a little bit that we won the Europa. But at the end of the day, if you think about it, it's not downplaying what we did because it was fantastic, but we did beat a really mediocre Man United side. It was like El Sacchio, but on the big stage. Do you know what I mean? It really was. It was like the two worst teams, bar the bottom three, in a Europa Cup final.
Crazy.
I mean, for me, if like, and I'm sure everyone will agree, if the bottom three weren't so bad, we would have been in a dogfight.
Sadly true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very true, actually. Aaron, I'm going to ask you, because you commented about the investment that's being reported. Do you think it's just come from Munich? They kind of looked at it and gone, look, 17th last season, this isn't good enough. We need to invest. Or do you think that they've finally got that outside investment?
I wouldn't be surprised if it was outside as well. I think I saw something saying it could be 120 from Enoch and then outside investment the other 300 or something, or 250. I saw somewhere, but obviously this is all media journalists seeing one thing or seeing Tottenham making moves in the window and they're saying, "Oh, this isn't Tottenham. How can they doing this? Oh, it must be an investment, so I'll make an article about it." I think that's what could be going on as well, and then they're trying to make it more believable by chucking in external, internal at the same time. So I don't think anyone is ever going to know, because that's not something a club's going to come out and say. They're not going to say, "Oh yeah, we got this money from here, so that's how we bought him." So I think it's going to be left down for the journalists to speculate, and we're just going to have to believe or not believe what they say, whatever you want to believe. I say. If you like Daniel, then you can say, yeah, he definitely did it on his own. If you don't like Daniel, you can say, nah, it has to be the investors.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, spot on.
Yeah, exactly. Haz, what do you think's driven this kind of Spurs board, has driven Daniel Levy to, I suppose, get their acting gear and, two big signings in 24 hours?
I don't know. I did like you guys think about it, because obviously I've read the rumours the same as Aaron, literally the same article or whatever it was on Instagram that I saw. But also I thought that a few years ago I read we could spend like 200 million without breaking FFP or something like that. So maybe it could be something like that. But maybe someone stole his credit card. Like, I don't know. Just spending my money. I don't really know. But maybe you're right. Maybe we'll never know. But there's even rumours of like a takeover. Like, I just don't know. I'm just happy that we're acting in the way we should be. We should always really be acting for a club with a stadium the size we have, which generates the amount of money we have as a club. And obviously we're in the Champions League now, so we're going to need top quality Premier League proven players to bridge the gap. And also we did finish 17th last season. We can't afford to have as bad league season as before, which is why we need to buy Premier League proven players, because we can't afford to have a bad season we had last season in the league. You just can't have that again. So maybe that's pushed them partly as well. But I don't know. I'm kind of with Aaron. Like, we might never know. It'll probably come out at some point, but I might never know. Yeah.
That's the thing. We never know, but we can't complain. This is
I'm just
it's happening. It's just happening. Let the chaos unfold around us, and it's all good. We're signing players. That's all that matters. But if the transfer window closed now tonight, and we got the signing of Kudus and Gibbs-White done on top of the signings of Matthias Tell, making him permanent, and Kota Takai, what would you rate the window out of 10? Obviously, not a lot on the outgoing side.
I don't think how I scored them look. Maybe like
Big.
7, maybe 7 out of 10 still, because there'll be no 6. So yeah, I think that's important, and I still think we need full back cover. So I don't know where that's going to come from. Yeah.
Okay, 7 out of 10 from Haz. Aaron?
Ooh, I'd go lower purely because of outgoings. Everyone gets obsessed with incomings in a club because that's the exciting bit. But yeah, you can't bring in more players than you can handle. And I know you need cover, but at the same time, you will have to see outgoings as well. So I'd say 6. Get some outgoings, it will put it up to a 7. Get a 6, maybe a fullback cover. You're looking at a 9.
I totally agree with you. I was going to say 6 out of 10 for me. And if we get that, in particular number 6, but ideally another fullback cover of a decent quality. Let's just say I don't think it's ever going to happen, but we signed Anthony Robertson from Fulham, and at number 6 we signed Adam Walton. That for me, even with no outgoings, that's a 9.5. With outgoings, probably a 10. It's that good. It can be so quickly a huge number. So I totally agree with you, Ben. What are you thinking? Your rating if the window slams shut tonight and those two were announced?
Do you know what? I'd probably say 6 as well, but I don't really like ratings because we've had windows before when you would go, oh, that's about an 8 or 9. And everyone's been shit. Excuse my French, but you know what I mean. So I don't get too optimistic. So probably I'd agree, probably a 6.
Okay, thank you very much. A 6 as well. So yeah, I think we're opting on the side of caution, but I think that's absolutely reasonable. Next, I want to move on to Kudus, who Fabrizio Romano reports has completed his medical today. Everything's okay. Just documents now should be announced. Interesting to see when it's announced because Forum Pletterberg of Sky Sports reported that it'll be announced today, and unless it's going to be really late, it's unlikely, more than likely tomorrow.
13 minutes.
Yeah,
9 o'clock.
maybe. You never know. 9 o'clock announcement. We'll have to see. It might be we're on here, so I better stop waffling and get on with it. But Haz, I'll ask you, what are your thoughts on the signing of Kudus?
I was really happy, mainly because I think we need a right winger, and Kudus is the right winger. So in that respect, yes. Again, he's got 2 years under his belt in the Premier League. So we know we're going to get someone who's going to be at least somewhat good for us straight away. And there'll be no acclimatization or anything like that. And obviously, it's nice to sign a player from West Ham because we haven't done that since Scott Parker in 2012 or something like that. So if he really wants to come to Tottenham and leave West Ham for Tottenham, then he must have some common sense. But yeah, as a player though, hopefully we get season 1 Kudus instead of season 2. So maybe season 3 is always going to be better than season 2. Anyway.
Fingers crossed. Let's hope so. Aaron, do you see this as a good signing? I mean, it does rattle both the West Ham and Chelsea fan base. Does that make it even more special?
Oh, it definitely makes it more special. The fact that I can go on Twitter and read all the West Ham fans pretending not to be really, really angry makes the signing 10 times better. Even if they were angry, I think it's them pretending not to be makes it even better. But yeah, he definitely a lot of added quality. You know, it's a profile we didn't have, and that makes it good alone. Even if the people are saying, "Oh, does it fit his system?" It's more of a touchline and player. Still, it's a profile you didn't have, and it can't hurt to get that amongst the squad.
Absolutely. Ben, how do you feel about the signing of Mohammed Kudus from West Ham?
Well, yeah, it's just well, they're always upset with us anyway, aren't they? Like no matter what we do, this is brilliant. To be fair, I mean, and we won the Europa. They won the pound shop one, didn't they? And we won the real one. So, so they're always upset with us, no matter what we do. So this, yeah, fantastic. I am absolutely loving it. Let's see what he can do. He's a good player actually. So like it's an interesting one for sure.
Aaron, would you say he's our best forward player now he's signed for the club? I saw that kind of conversation happening yesterday.
Oh, that's a hard one. I'm someone I'm investing a lot in Tell this year. I think he can really become something under Frank. But also Solanke can probably step up from what he was good last season. He did the job he needed to in the system. It wasn't the job that a lot of fans wanted him to be doing. I think that was the problem with Solanke. People wanted him to be that last man scoring goals, but obviously that's not what his job was last year. His job was to be that powerhouse up front, lead the press. So that probably sacrificed his goals and assist tally a bit. So if he's not doing that, I think he could also be very good. But I'd say technically, and the player that everyone says it, get off your seat, on the edge of your seat player, Kudus is definitely the best for the excitement aspect of the game. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Solanke is a very, very good all-round player. But like for me, and I appreciate what you said, Aaron, but for me, I think a striker does need to score goals.
Yeah.
More goals. But he's hold up play, his passing, his all-round play is very, very good. I think personally.
Okay. No, I think that's fair enough. Haz, can I ask you on Kudus? Tell you what, I'm going to ask you first. Do you think he is our best attacking player?
It's probably not the answer you're looking for, but I disagree. I think Solanke probably is still on paper.
Okay.
And this is on someone who's not been like crazy about Solanke, because I know when he signed, a lot of people were thinking he's going to score like 20, 30 goals. But I kind of side with Aaron on this, like as in he was doing a job that basically he was good for the system, but not for him as a striker, basically. So I just think Kudus will be the one to feed Solanke next season, if that makes sense. So I think we'll see a better Solanke. Whether he'll be this 30 goal a season striker, I still have my reservations. But on paper right now, bear in mind Son's age and the uncertainty of the quality for me for Tel. I know Aaron said he's investing in Tel, but I'm quite uncertain about what he's going to do for us. And some other players like, George Johnson's, who he's a great goal scorer, but as a player, I'm kind of a bit iffy on. Maybe in the new system, he'll do better as like a second striker or something. But for me, Solanke is probably still our best attacking player, like overall as a player, and also, his sort of his numbers. I just don't think the system last season suited him at all. He might have been a great player for the system because we're playing a high press. Like he was the best presser in our squad, 100%. But in terms of his as a striker, we did not get the best out of him. And I think Kudus will probably be the guy to get best out of him as well. Yeah.
I think he might be able to. I think Solanke's got hopefully a bright season ahead of him and a bright future at Tottenham. But Haz, do you think we got a good deal for Kudus? Yeah, reports that West Ham wanted 65 million, 10 million more, and they actually got for him in the end. Obviously, £85 million release clause. They only got 55 in the end. Do you think that we've got a good deal out of them?
Yeah, but I do think also with Kudus, obviously after season one, or his first season. I keep saying season 1, season 2, season 3 now. But anyway, after his first season, he was like on Man City's radar. Like he had an amazing first season at West Ham. I don't know if you guys remember his bicycle kick on the last game of the season that against City. I think it was actually, ironically. Like he was really hot property in his first season. But last season, whether it's to do with like the manager change or whatever uncertainty was going on at West Ham, he wasn't as good. So I think West Ham are always going to have to take a bit of a hit on the release clause because he had a down season, I'm going to call it. So I think 55 to 65 million was about right for him. I'd say around 60 is probably what I would have priced him at. So I think we got a bit of a better deal because we knocked off 5 million. So yeah.
That's a good point. I think we did. I think that's positive. We got him for less and we got the player ultimately. I think he's going to be very unpopular with West Ham fans, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Aaron, is it important to note that West Ham were really bad last season? So Haz is right to mention Kudus' stats aren't pretty last season. Well, he actually has, I think, the best dribbling stats actually out of anyone in Europe. I think it's first or second for like the top 2 dribbling stats. But apart from that, in terms of goals and assists, they are very low. But it's important to note, isn't it, that West Ham were awful last year and nobody really stood out.
It's definitely a factor. And that is the argument I've been using when talking to people about when I hear people say, Kudus, he's awful. He had a horrible season. Why do you want to get him now? A player doesn't just stop. Like there's clearly been attitude problems. He clearly didn't want to. I think he didn't want to be there this season. Kudus, when something's not going his way or everything's not going really smoothly, and he doesn't feel like the team is going anywhere, I think he drops off a bit. I don't know if that's because West Ham wasn't the right environment for him. If he'll do the same if things didn't started going. If he was at us this year when things weren't going well in the league, I don't know if he would have done the same thing, or if West Ham just wasn't the place for him. But I think it's a very exciting project to come into. Obviously, he's gone to we're a bigger club, and the bad season we had last year compared to bad league season we had last year compared to West Ham's was, I think they're very different. We had loads of injuries. We had loads of challenges to overcome. We had to balance. We basically sacrificed our league for a final. West Ham just didn't play well, I think. So it is different comparing what team he's coming into to what team he's leaving. But it's definitely an important factor to note still.
No, that's a good point you made. I think you put across that really well. So thank you very much. Ben, I'll come to you. What would you say that Mohammed Kudus' best attribute is? Would it be his kind of dribbling skills?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, we need a player like that, really. And he's
Oh, Ben's cut out. No worries. We'll get back to Ben a little bit. I think he's got internet issues. Tell you what, Aaron, I'll put that question to you. Kudus, what would you say his kind of best attribute is? It's got to be his dribbling, isn't it?
Yeah, dribbling one-on-one, being able to take on your man. The stats prove that. That flair, get on the edge of your seat, get everyone excited, lift the crowd, lift the other players on the pitch. Actually, if you see a Brennan Johnson banging down the line in one straight run, just knocking it and running, hoping to get on, you're not as likely to, if you see a Kudus taking his man on and looking to make something out of it, you're more likely to want to get in that box and want to bomb it forward and assist with the attack. So yeah, definitely that dribbling and that one-on-one ability, which is something we haven't seen at Tottenham in a long time.
Certainly, yeah, need that absolutely. Haz, would you say he's a decent alternative, a good alternative to your Eze, your Simmons, your Mbeumo?
Yeah. Like I said, I think we went for Mbeumo first, and he just didn't want to come. So I think that's when they moved for Kudus, because we clearly need a winger. I mean, I'm talking like a pure winger, not the kind of wingers we see nowadays who even because we were linked with Neto. I remember last summer. Apparently, he was top of Andrew's list, and I've seen quite a lot of Neto. He's not really a proper a winger. I would class as a winger, and he checks back a lot. With Kudus, I kind of just echo what Aaron says. He'll get the ball and he'll run at a player. He'll go past the player, kind of what Aaron Lennon used to do back in the day, that sort of thing. And I think he'll just make the fans in the stadium more excited. And if I was a striker, I'd be more hungry to see him flying down the wing than Johnson trying to do something with the ball who can't cross. Like Kudus, like I said, I think he'd be the guy to set up Solanke next season. I think that's their plan, and they're going to try and add someone like Vista maybe in and someone else in to try and mix it up in the attack. So yeah.
Aaron, where do you see him playing? Because I read a stat that he played 45% of his minutes, so just under half at Ajax in that kind of number 10 central role. Could you see him playing on the right? Do you see him playing on the left, or is there a possibility he can play centrally? Surely not after all the cover we've got there.
Yeah, definitely not central anymore. Before Gibbs-White, I'd say maybe you could do the job central, but that's clearly not an option. Clearly hasn't been thought of that. Otherwise, you wouldn't be looking at bringing Gibbs-White in, because I think Gibbs-White will do the job between an 8 or a 10. He'll be one of those two. So having Kudus as your two wing options, I think will be the most prominent positions he'll play. More on the right. Right will definitely be his position, I'd say. But then apparently you can also do a job up front. So this whole window has been very versatile based. You want players that can play multiple positions, but because of how fluid Frank's system is, he'll be changing it mid-game. You could probably see a different system being played 3 times in one game. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that, or as I think Haz said earlier, different system in Europe compared to domestic league. So being able to be versatile, but yeah, definitely right wing, I think, will be his main position this year.
Yeah, I agree with you. So I think it's important to note that West Ham played in majority of the time out position on that left. I don't think it's quite as good. I think it's better on the right. So that's a good point I think that you make there, Aaron. I really like Antros Postecoglou, but I'll hold my hands up here and go. I think now we've appointed Thomas Frank. I think what is a really good thing about him is just that flexibility. That I think his in-game management is probably a little bit better, but it's mainly just the tactical flexibility and just the adaptability. If something's going wrong, I think if we had that 4-1 Chelsea defeat, I think if Frank said that the formation's changed and it's okay, it's not what I want to do, but we're going to go defensive and we might be able to get something out of that game. I think that's a good example, and others where I think it could really benefit this team to not be so gun-ho, not so much die on that hill. So I think Frank will be good in that sense and really get the lots out of players. I tell you what, while we're at it, let's talk about players that we think will improve the most or grow the most under Thomas Frank. I'll start off with you, Aaron. Who do you think's Frank's going to kind of revitalise or really push on in their career?
It's easy to say the young players because of what he's done in the past. It's easy to say your Gray, your Bergvall, they're going to take a step up. But I think they would have taken a step up anyway without Frank. Frank will definitely help, maybe do it quicker, But I think the ceiling is so high for both of them. I think they would have done it anyway. In terms of Frank getting the best out of Frank specifically doing the best for a player, I think it would be. I'm going to say Tell again. I think because we had so much expectation with Tell, and I'm really investing in him this year. But last year he definitely didn't show the expectation everyone wanted when we signed him. All the excitement around it. He showed glimpses, but I think people wanted more, and I think he was misused by Ange quite a lot last year. Too much touch. He was a striker, wasn't he? So by being able to play that more narrow forward just behind Solanke rather than touchline, I think that's going to do wonders for him. This system is really, I think it's going to bring the best out of him.
It's good to hear. It's really good. I think it's probably the right thing to do to sign him. I think he showed off the pitch as well, leadership, whether it be backing Ange or like going to consult fans or speaking to the media. I think there's one example we lost badly away. It was something like Brighton, and the leadership team are not interested. They sent out Tell, obviously only on loan at the time, and the way he's speaking is very good. I felt like he always wanted to be here, so I totally agree with you. I think that he's a player that can really push on. The only thing that does concern me is I think Bayern were quick to get rid of him, but they might just wanted to, bring in other replacements. Maybe they didn't think he was right for Vincent Kompany's system, but time will tell. I think it's a good bit of business. Haz, who do you think is really going to improve under Frank? I'm going to throw a name out there as well. A lot of people say Sarr will improve under Frank. What do you make of that as well?
I don't know about Sarr because obviously Aaron spoke about Gibbs-White, for example, as an 8. I expect Basuma to go. So is Sarr going to get that many minutes if Gibbs-White plays as an 8? Because I see Sarr as more of like an 8, if I'm being honest. So I don't see him as like a 6 at all. And I don't think he definitely can't play as a 10, really. I know he played there for like one game, I think, and that's it. But I just don't see him playing there. For me, I don't know if it counts as development of a player because he somewhat had a good season last season. It depends how you interpret it. But I would say someone like Johnson is more likely to get the best with Frank because Frank wanted Johnson at Brentford. I think he's more likely to play a style which suits him, whether he plays him as an inverted forward or as even up front in some games or even as a second striker in the 3-5-2. I think he'll get the most out of him. So obviously we saw great numbers out of Johnson last season, but he was kind of like, I hate to say this word, but kind of like a passenger in the way we were playing and in the system we were playing. He wasn't really affecting the game. Now, if we play like a 3-4-3, 3-5-2, even a 4-2-3 on with inverted forwards, I think you're going to get way more out of him. On top of his like goal scoring, you get more out of him. So I think Johnson is one to look for, especially because he wanted him at Brentford.
Yeah, I think I'd also add Archie Gray, and I agree with Aaron in terms of he's someone who would improve anyway, along with Bergvall, etc. But I think we all forget that Frank wanted him when he was Brentford manager, and they were for a while thought they were going to get him, and that's why when Gray went to the G-Tech that they were so hostile towards him. I thought, what's this about? And then I thought, of course, yeah, they wanted him. They thought we had him, and we stole him at the last minute. So that could be a player that he will work with. We'll move on to Johan Wissa, another player that all of a sudden we're in talks with. Wouldn't surprise me if we signed him by the time we've finished. Haz, I'll kick it off with you. Would you like to see us sign Johan Wissa? And do you think it's important that we sign a player that's worked with Thomas Frank? So that just, I suppose, makes that transition of like his new project, his new ideas a lot easier when you've got someone who's been there, done it, and gets it.
Sorry, we're asking me or Aaron. Sorry, you say me or Aaron? Sorry.
Haz, you.
Sorry. Sorry about that. But yeah, Vista for me is really important because obviously there was links with, is it Collins, his name? We were linked with that Brentford player.
Yeah, Nathan Collins, centre back. Yeah.
So clearly, I think it's important that you bring in someone who's worked with the manager before, which is what surprised me that we didn't do that with Ange and bring in like an ex-Celtic player or something, or to kind of help the dressing room somewhat. Because if you bring in someone who's worked with the manager before, he gets immediately a player that he knows he can put straight into his system, that knows the methods, and will hit the ground running pretty much. Like if we sign Vissa, I think he'll just start guaranteed almost, and he'll just start doing well under Frank, I think, at Spurs, because he knows how to use him. And also just partly because I think it's more like to get the other players on side with Frank as well, because if you bring someone who knows him, he's more like, especially because Vissa, I think it's like 28, 29, and he's played under Frank for a very long time. just to get the other members of the dressing room on board with Frank, because obviously there's some parts of the dressing room who really like Ange. So I don't know whether, like, for example, like Romero, he might still be thinking of leaving. Anyway, in general, I think just buying an ex-player from a manager, is great, because it's just, I think you always need to bring your man with you. And I would have liked Norgard, but obviously he's gone to Arsenal, so yeah.
Yeah, I think Norgard would have been a decent signing. Maybe not for ability, but for experience and kind of know-how. And we just really lack that experience in the squad. But hopefully that will change. It's two good signings. But again, it isn't that much experience. They're not like super young, but I think we do lack a little bit of experience. But something that can still be fixed. Has another question for you, and that is, to do with Richarlison. Would you say that Wissa is an upgrade on Richarlison? And if so, a significant one or not?
Is Richarlison staying or not? Because I thought he was leaving, and then I read the other day saying he's going to stay now. So I don't.
Wants to stay.
It kind of depends what Frank does, because if he plays a 3-4-3, we might need Richarlison because he'll be playing Solanke as a striker, and we need someone to cover. But then if he leans more to a 3-5-2, like he did with Mbeumo and Wissa, I think Richarlison's not going to be as needed. So I think with Wissa, the advantage with him is he can play in, again, multiple positions and in multiple formations, like he's done at Brentford with Frank. So is he an upgrade on Richarlison? I'd say yes, just mainly because he's played under Frank, and we know wherever he plays him, he'll do a job for us with Frank. So yeah.
And Thomas Frank's got a lot out of him. He had an incredible season last season. And I think an important thing is to know, and we'll get onto it later in terms of his best position, but he's just been playing that striker role because Tony's been out. I just thought, I naturally got in my head like with Richarlison, Solanke and kind of that competition, but he was really started as a wide forward, and that's where he really started. I think he was on that left-hand side. So again, that's a versatile player that would just make so much sense. He won't come cheap though, being English. To be honest with you, I think it'll be probably around the price of Kudus, 50-55 million. It won't come cheap, but you have to pay for the striker. That's the thing. But Aaron, how would you feel if we signed Wissa? Is it like a priority for you, or is it just, again, another one like Gibbs-White where it's not priority, but you can't complain if we sign him?
I think with Wissa, it's a case of if Richarlison goes and he's going to go anyway, and you need a replacement, then you get Wissa in. I don't think you force Richarlison out, because I've seen he doesn't want to leave Richarlison. I think he wants to stay. He's comfortable, and I still don't think we have seen the best of him, which is crazy to say because of how long he's been here. But I still don't think we have seen the best of him. Injuries or he's definitely not a winger, is he? So I think that if he has to go and he wants to go, you get Wissa in, but it's not worth forcing a move or trying to get him out so we can replace him with Wissa.
Okay, that's fair enough. Haz, what would you say is his best position? Bearing in mind, he was just covered for Tony. Do you think he's now a natural striker?
I don't think he can put up front on his own, unless he's doing it at like a real push. Because when I look at someone like Tell, I think they're quite similar players in the sense that they're more wide forward rather than actual strikers, in my opinion. So if it was me and we're playing a 3-4-3, I'd play him as an inside left forward. That's what I would do, which kind of makes Son kind of redundant because we're using Tell in the same way. So I don't know. I think if Wissa comes in, either Son or Richarlison are going. If not, maybe both. But one of them has to go. So I personally see him as an inside left forward. If I was to pick a specific position to play him, that's what I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think, again, that kind of dream front three of what we've got, I want to say what we've got at the moment, what we could have. I mean, Wissa, Solanke, Kudus, that is an upgrade on last year. And as we spoke about it many times before, when we used to do shows together on Spurs Kings TV or my channel or your channel with TJ. And I think it remains the same. That front three isn't the level of other top six sides before, this transfer window. That's what lets us down. I think that midfield, it's lacks depth, but it's quality in there. Madison, Bergevall, Kulusevski. The defense is solid. Two good fullbacks, Van der Ven, Romero. Goalkeeper, I think, is okay. It's decent, but it's the forward line that really lets us down. Bar Solanke. Whereas I think hopefully that's changing. Sign Kudus and then we can sign Wissa. That's quite exciting.
Yeah.
We'll move on now to Adam Wharton. I mean, this is maybe more of a fantasy, but we'll discuss it anyway. Haz, I'll kick it off with you. Would he be the dream number 6 signing for you?
Okay, so this is considering how nuts I've been going for the past 24 hours. Might be a bit weird to me saying this. Look, he wouldn't have been my certain particular choice. Like I was more going for someone with a bit more experience, like a Douglas Luiz or a Paulinho. But if we're going the long-term route with Frank, and we're willing to drop this kind of big money, we're talking like 60, 70 million on Wharton, then we should get him, because if he's someone who he's got a big up ceiling, he's English as well, which kind of helps as well with the homegrown thing. And he's Premier League, he's got Premier League experience, even though the other two I alluded to do have Premier League experience. If Frank's staying here long term, saying even if next year we don't have as good a year as we all hope, say we get knocked down round 16 or Champions League, we finish just sixth, we don't win a domestic cup, and they plan to keep Frank for at least like 3 years, and this is the guy that he wants, you go get him. This is the thing with us, right? Because he's a young player, so you're gonna need someone there to coach him, and I think Frank is a great manager to do that. So I would have preferred a more proven option, but at the same time, Wharton has such a high up ceiling, and if Bentancur's going to be like the first choice, and Wharton's going to be like the one, I still think Wharton will play a lot, by the way, kind of playing with him or playing in as an alternative to him. Like I think Wharton will probably start every cup game. Some of the earlier Champions League rounds, maybe he will start with Bentancur, and then some of the league games. Like we have so many games next season, then you have to get him in, and we need a number 6. But to me, it's like we need to make sure that Frank's going to be here long term for it to work, I think.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
I do think whatever manager, though, I think that Wharton is a top player. And you're absolutely right about young and not a lot of experience. But at the same time, I think he has a lot of experience for his age. I think if he stepped in now, I think couple of games and he's settled in really nicely. I don't think he's that type of player that's going to have that time to adjust. A lot of it helps his English, but I just feel for his age, really calm, level-headed. It's just a case of fitness for him that we'd still need cover. We'd still need a backup, whether it be Bentancur or Basuma. I really like Bentancur, by the way. I think in terms of ability, his ceiling's very high, but you've got to find out maybe what's his best position.
It could be like, an 8. If we were to view Gray as a number 6, I mean, this is another possibility that I thought of is, I know you spoke about how Gray might be used straight away. I have this feeling that if we bring in Wharton, I could be wrong yet. It could blow up in my face. But maybe they might loan Gray back to Leeds for a season and say you have to play him as a DM or somewhere or something like that. So he gets his year as the DM in the Premier League, right? And we see how he actually does. And obviously Bentancur is, how old is he? Is he 30 something now? So you can have Wharton there as like the player with him or like behind him as well, sort of, with the amount of competitions we have. And then in 2 years, if Gray develops, then as this actual number 6 that people say he's going to develop into, I have my reservations personally, just based on what I've seen from him. But obviously, Frank wanted him, so there's that as well. Then you could move on Bentancur in 2-3 years and promote Gray and Wharton as your like 2 6s. So I think if Wharton comes in, it does put a question mark on Gray's like immediate future. I don't know about the long-term future, but at least the immediate future. Because if people see him as a midfielder, how many games is he really going to get if we sign out of Wharton?
Yeah, I think you've got a good point, but you could say that Gibbs-White coming in questions the future of Maddison, who is class but has been inconsistent. Questions Bergwijn, is he going to be a regular starter now? Everyone's back. You could see, Kulusevski, is he going to be on the right? So I think you could look at it any way. But while we're talking about midfielders, Hazard, give you credit, to be fair. When it comes to Kulusevski, you made at the time really bold shout that he could be the number 10. And at the time, he was absolutely flying as our right winger. I think he was just off the back of that game at Man City where I think he got a goal or assist, got a couple of goals. And myself included, like, you're absolutely mad. He's having all this impact on the right. And here we sit, quite a few, 12, 13 months later, and he's a lot better in the 10th. So just wanted to say that. I'll give you a lot of credit. So your idea, I don't think it's going to blow up in your face, put it that way. Your idea.
Okay.
We won't talk about TJ's ideas on the podcast with Emerson. What you want to do with him, but put him in midfield. We won't talk about that. We'll leave that for another day. Aaron, talk to me about Adam Wharton. How big would it be if we signed him?
He would be the signing that makes the most difference. We need to be able to link defence to attack. it's all good having all these great attacking players coming in, but if your defensive unit and your attacking unit, including the defensive midfielder, is playing two separate games, then it doesn't matter who you have, it doesn't work. And right now we don't have that one player that can link the two together. In terms of, I think Wharton would be probably in the market that we're in now and the links we're seeing would be the best option. But I think all these links to Wharton have been very fan led. I don't think there's much credibility around it at all. I think it's just the one that people have spotted and everyone wants to get excited about it. And now we're making all these moves. People are kind of taking the ball and running with it. But I'm all for it because I'd love to see him as well. But yeah, I think we just need to be a bit more reserved on the possibility of that actually happening. I think Norgard would have been the more realistic option, but obviously, yeah, not anymore.
No, it's too late to hijack the deal. I mean, we do love a Daniel Levy hijack, but you never know. Someone said Victor Gyokeres earlier.
Just before Arsenal.
Yeah, I said that earlier. Can you imagine? We do love a little hijack here and there, indeed. But then we're too slow to get in for play. Well, we might hijack, but then don't get the player signed. But we'll have to see. Adam Walter, I think, maybe is a little bit of a fancy one, but we've spoken about him and we spoke about Basuma, so we'll move on to Christian Romero because it looks like all of a sudden that he's going to be staying at Tottenham. We're certainly not going to be going to Atletico Madrid. Haz, what have you made of the news, reported news anyway, that Atletico Madrid have walked away?
I think that Levy's number one asked for too much. So I don't think they're willing to pay the fee that probably asked for, like 80 million. And I heard Atletico Madrid are not really cash rich at the moment. So that's the fact because I think they signed, I don't know who it was. They signed someone, so I think the likelihood of them signing Romero for big money again was quite low. But at the same time, it could also be that Romero might have spoken to Frank and he said, "I'll give it one more season," because I mean he publicly criticised the board last season, and now the board are actually doing something. So maybe, just maybe, what he said made some form of impact, and maybe they're trying to change his mind. So I think Romero will be staying for one more season. I think he's got, is it 2 years left on this contract? Is it 2 or 3? I can't remember.
It's definitely not 3. I think it's 2.
It's not a lot.
So I think
it's 1 or 2.
Give it one more season, and then if we carry on doing what we're doing in the transfer window now and getting these players, it could almost turn his head if we have a good season next season and we say we win a domestic cup. We qualify for Champions League or Europe again. I think he could, even be tied down and stay longer. But I think he's going to give it one more season. So that's why I think he's going to stay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Interesting that you think that Levy's asking for too much. What do you make of the reported, supposed bid, or it hasn't been a bid apparently, but valuation of Atletico of around 55 million euros? Would you say that's an insult? Is it fair?
When I meant Levy's asking for too much, I didn't mean as in I believe he's asking for too much. I mean as in for Atletico, the money mooted.
Gotcha.
I got it right. Okay.
All right, fair
money
enough.
mooted is too much for them because they just don't have enough money to spend on him.
No,
if that makes sense. That's what I've heard. They're not really cash rich. So the 55 million, I think, is a bit of an insult because I think Romero is probably worth at least 70 in this market. So he was never going to go for 55 million. Yeah.
If I'm Romero, I'd be like, stuff you, Atletico. If you think I'm worth that, then sod that. I'm staying here. Proven winner, won in every single final. Now a winner with Tottenham as well. Let's add that to the CV. That's something to shout about. So I wouldn't be going to Atletico, that's for sure. Aaron, what do you make of the Romero news recently? And do you think that this kind of secures that he's going to stay, or do you think there could be another club that comes in with a really good bid?
I think he's definitely here for this year, and I struggle to believe the media quite a bit. I'm wondering how real or how true the links him away in the first place actually were. I reckon that they've seen a top player playing for Tottenham, and then he's come out. It's finally not just one, when it's not just our fan base noticing, and he starts to get the attention of other clubs, as in the fans of other clubs, and saying, yeah, he's a top player. Then it's Tottenham. You're always going to get the media saying, yeah, right, so he wants to go. Then you can't have a top player wanting to stay at Tottenham. Why would he? That's what I think goes on there. And then you had all of that coming out about him saying, if Ange goes, I go. That doesn't happen, does it? Like, I don't understand where that can come from. But if Atletico were in, Atletico of all places, I don't think it's not the biggest enticement away, especially when you've just won a trophy. You probably he's in the running to be captain next year, depending on Son's situation. So
Yeah,
I think it's going to take quite a lot to entice him away. He seems quite comfortable, and he didn't actually play much. So I think he might even feel it in himself that he owes us one more year. He didn't play much, did he? So come on, show us what you got. One more year at least, I think.
But I think Diego Simeone really likes Romero, and I think he probably would go there. It's just I just don't think Atletico are willing to pay the fee that Levy would want. And I think partly because obviously we're actually doing stuff in the transfer window now, he might just lean towards like giving us another season. Like I said, I think there's other reasons for him going to Atletico. I don't think it's just because they're because I think Atletico and Spurs, there's there much between us in terms of size of a club. I don't really think so. But yeah, maybe he's been at Spurs since Nuno, so it's 5 years now. I think 5, 6 years, something like that. So yeah, and obviously he did win a trophy with us, so maybe leaving is a possibility. Like he wants to leave on the high, but yeah, I think he's going to stay one more season, 100% now. I just don't see any other club coming in for him.
Tell you what, we'll talk about one more thing because the club are about to announce the signing of Kudus. They've just dropped a little hint, so I'll let
right.
you all enjoy that. So we quickly go over the last
8 minutes.
thing, and that is just
I think 8 minutes. I think we're going to get something.
Yeah, it's not going to be long. They've definitely already dropped a teaser. I'm going to ask about the new CEO, Vinay, who's confirmed that the wider fan base will continue to hear from the board and senior staff at points throughout this year. I mean, Aaron, this is great, isn't it? Refreshing to hear, but long overdue.
100%. Very, very long overdue. I wanted that. That's all you can ask for. Good communication. It goes a long way. It goes a long. That's all Spurs fans have been asking for so long. And to be getting that now, I think it's a good time to be getting it. New manager. It feels different. The environment around Spurs feels different now.
It does definitely. Haz, I'm sure you're engrossed in the imminent announcement of. No, you're absolutely fine. Could I ask you about this with the new CEO? Do you think it's really important, that transparency, that communication with the fans, something that's been so non-existent in Levy's time at the club, that is now going to take place next season thanks to the CEO?
Well, from what I've heard from Arsenal fans, it's quite mixed reviews on Vinay. Some people say he was good somewhat. Some people say he was bad. But what I heard from him, this is I guess, I don't know if someone was neutral, I don't know. But Vinay's meant to be very good with fan relations. So I think they partly did that video to try and win back the fan base in terms of for Levy. But bear in mind, I was one of those people to go into the process, right? So he did that video. I thought initially it was to gaslight the fan base because I thought there's no way this guy is serious about winning the Premier League and the Champions League. So I think he was trying to do it to get fans back on side. Now, obviously, I think it's kind of linked to these signings because if he said that and we didn't go through with some of these signings, I think it would look a bit silly. But because these signings are happening or happening and might still be happening, then he's kind of built bridges between the fans and Levy again, really, because now we can, if we carry on like this trajectory and the way we're doing deals, no one can come out and really say, oh, assuming Levy's the person driving this or Levy's staying at the club, and say, oh, Levy is, the problem now, because he's kind of sat there and just shut us all up for at least 12 months, really, if we carry on like this. So in a sense, Vinay's there to bridge the relationship between the fans and basically Levy and the chairman and the board. And to be fair, right now he's done a good job of it. So that's why I think that video was created. But yeah, I think he's a good addition to the board, and I think this is why Levy left it till the end of the season to a massive reshuffle. They reshuffled the whole board. They sacked the ladies manager. They sacked the men's manager, and they put in obviously Frank and whatever the new manager is for ladies. I can't remember his name. So this is just part of the whole overhaul, and maybe this is why we're doing deals in this manner now. Maybe it's to do with the change in the board and the way we're doing stuff. I don't know. I mean, we don't know the ins and outs of it, unfortunately. We can only just kind of deduce about what we've seen and what we've heard and just how we're doing business. So long may it continue as Karen doing business this way.
Absolutely. Haz, I have got to ask you, and I appreciate it's a difficult question. I've got to be careful with the way I word it, but let's just say that the Thomas Partey saga, are you concerned that new CEO Vinay has some involvement in that, maybe some kind of cover up?
I actually don't know about this. This is new to me.
By the way, I've just this is nothing, no reports or anything. I'm just putting two and two together, which I shouldn't do.
I thought you meant that you read something.
No. Just to be crystal clear, for the club is watching, don't think they will. But Vinay, as far as I know, not done anything wrong. But he was at the time of Arsenal when Thomas Partey played, and I, in my opinion, believe that there's been a cover up within Arsenal. I think his teammates knew just the language that was used. So I was wondering if you had any concern that the CEO played a part.
I don't think Vinay had anything to do with the Partey thing. No, I don't think so. But at the same time, with that situation, the club has I'm not saying they agree with it, by the way. I just think the club has a duty to be a certain way with the situation with the player. Like they can't come out and say their own opinion and say, "Oh."
No, but Arteta said he said he deserves this after everything he's been through. Nobody deserves it more. That kind of language, I think, is a bit interesting.
Oh no, did Vinay say he deserves it? Sorry,
that was Arteta. What? No, that was Arteta.
Oh.
No, all I'm thinking is that he was at the time at Arsenal, and Summer put two and two together and went, look, okay, he left rather abruptly. I don't think it's linked whatsoever, but I'm just wondering.
No, because the way you worded it, I thought you were saying that he did something, so now I'm just sitting there thinking, what's going on?
Don't worry.
But
not that we know of. Not that we know of.
No, in the papers. No, I don't think he has any link to the Partey thing at all. I think also he would have signed the player if he had any link to the player signing initially in the first place. He would not have known about this. I mean, this only came out a few years later. So I don't think it's really Vinay's responsibility, but what Partey is doing off the field.
You're probably right.
But so I don't think there's any link, and you're the one making me think there was a link now. So I'm
No. I apologise. Vinay, please don't take it out on me.
I was like, did I miss something?
Not as far as I know, anyway. Not as far as I know. He's probably clean, probably fine. I'm just thinking, obviously, have Fabio Paratici completely different, but
he's a different situation. Paratici a different situation because there was.
I know. We want to avoid any troubles. What I'm thinking, we don't want Vinay to come in and do this good job, and all of a sudden the plug's pulled on him. But no, I think we'll be okay. Aaron, do you think the new CEO? I'm going to praise him now, in case he's watching. Vinay deserves credit for the kind of job he's done so far. I think a large part of these interviews and maybe even signing players is down to him. How much do you put it down to him?
I think big difference has been made by him. Definitely. Look, we saw it before he even officially took up the role. Like you had the semi final last year. You had all the and the final probably all the Tottenham scarves and stuff. That's definitely not a Levy thing to do. So I think he's definitely, and all these media videos. I reckon we've had a new media team as well. I reckon that's half to go through it because you can visually see a difference it's quite clear, but definitely this communication that we're getting now compared to what we've had previously is actually so clear. Like you can't even name the roles that Ange gave out to his squad or his staff last year, and now we have a 8-minute video. You can go and watch that, and you know exactly what's going on behind the scenes. And we didn't even have all our players back there then, and we probably knew more than them when that video came out, more than the international players that came back. We probably knew more about the staff than they did. That's how good the communication's been. So I'm really, really happy with how he's implementing, and he said he was going to do it, and he has done it. He hasn't disappointed, I don't think.
No, I think he has definitely delivered. Indeed, it looks good. Very good start. Aaron, what would you say you make of Frank's new coaching staff? Obviously, taking 5 members of Brentford staff that are with him to Spurs. Do you think that's really important, including assistant manager Justin Corcoran?
It's very important. I think for Frank, he's he's a tactician. I'd say, and more, he was more of a man management motivator. He gave these big speeches. He dropped these quotes. But I think Frank's definitely more. Not that he can't do that, but he's definitely more of a tactician. So having those coaching staff that he's familiar with and that share the same morals, outlooks on how they should be playing is definitely important, and it's going to help gel the squad together, just like how signing someone that he's already coached before from Brentford, signing a Wissa or a Norgard would have been the same way that would affect the squad is by bringing this coaching staff, especially having an assistant coach that's been with him before. Yeah, definitely helps.
Before we wrap up the podcast, we've got the announcement. Tottenham Hotspur posted on X that he only wanted Spurs. I love this. Welcome to North London, Mohammed Kudus. That's a little bit cheeky. Haz, I know we've spoken about it, but how do you feel now? It's done, it's wrapped up, it's sealed, and it's been announced. Feels good?
I'm buzzing. Like I said, it's been a while since we signed a player from West Ham. I don't know if you saw in the group, in the chat, last night I talked about Defoe. Because when we first signed Defoe, I bear in mind, first signed Defoe twice. Signed Defoe twice. Once under Harry from Portsmouth, and once under, I can't remember who it was the manager at the time, but it was a long time ago. We signed from West Ham. And that at the time was quite a big thing because the West Ham fans, there's a reason why they booed Jermaine Defoe. Because he plays for Tottenham and used to play for Tottenham. So for me, it was kind of like the same sort of ilk of signing. And we needed a right winger, and we've gone and bought a right winger who arguably I think is going to hit the ground running, especially with a manager with like Frank, Premier League experience. They're both Premier League proven, and I think he's going to be a really good signing for us. So yeah, I'm really happy, like really, really happy.
Yeah, Aaron, does it feel special now it's announced?
It couldn't feel better. And how good does that away kit look in that video? By the way, I don't know if you've seen it. That away kit.
Yeah.
On Kudus in that video, or he's going to do special things this year. He's definitely very excited now.
Yeah, it feels good. I think it's a nice way to end the podcast, and the club have confirmed as well he's signed a 6-year deal. So all good stuff. Kudus is now a Tottenham player. Gibbs-White announcement probably tomorrow. Imagine if we got it now, that'd be absolutely crazy. We'll have
Waterman on Saturday, and then we'll have Vlahovic on Monday.
I was going to say Wissa, yeah.
Can we check in a left back Tuesday as well? I'll take that.
Yeah.
Robertson Tuesday. Grokeres hijack Wednesday. We've got it all planned already, halfway through next week. But that kind of wraps us up nicely for this, what I call emergency podcast, which is the second one we've had to do this week.
Might be someone tomorrow
daily podcast now, I think.
Exactly. Might schedule one in every single day at the moment. Indeed. But thank you very much. Benjamin had to leave early. He had connection issues, which he, as often has, which is absolutely fine. So, make sure to check him out on social media at Benjamin Knibb. And also thanks to both Aaron and Haz. Haz, firstly, where can people find you across social media? Talk to people about what you do as a YouTuber.
Okay, so my show is normally at 5:30 on a Friday night. Normally with TJ, and I guess if Harry wants to join, I can send you the link tomorrow if you want, or anyone else wants to join. I'll normally drop the link in the chat. But it's a very no-filtered podcast, so we kind of we start about Tottenham. Sometimes we talk about other things, and then go back to Tottenham. But normally the past 2 weeks not had much to talk about, but the 2 or 3 bombards we've had within the last basically 24 hours means we've got a lot to talk about tomorrow night. So I just run a podcast at 5:30 on a Friday most of the time. I pop up on other shows every so often. Obviously, the season's not going on right now, so not as much. But if we carry on this way, I might have to jump on more podcasts because stuff's actually going on for once. Normally, we don't do this quickly. Yeah, normally I'm sitting here waiting for us to do one transfer for like 3 months. And yeah, also Haz Spur TV on Twitter. I'm not as active as I was before, but maybe now I'll become more active because Spurs become more active. But yeah. So yeah, okay, you can find me on those 2 socials. Please go subscribe to Haz Spur TV. I'm on 405 subs. I want to get to 500. Obviously by the end of the year, really, or at the very least, in the next season. So slowly but surely, I think I'll get there. But yeah, and come on, your Spurs.
Slowly but surely, it's all that matters. As long as you're making progress, that's all that matters, and hopefully you will as well with Spurs signing players. Indeed, making progress off the pitch, you're signing, so hopefully you can make the progress with your channel. Thank you very much for coming on. Aaron, thank you very much. Very solid debut from yourself. You're welcome back anytime. Talk to people where they can find you on social media and a bit about what you do.
I normally just mess about on Twitter comments, getting some debates, probably anger some people with some opinions, but all in good spirits. At THFC_AW on Twitter, or X now as it is. Yeah, just mess about in other people's comments, really. Not really too much of my own stuff going on. Maybe in the future.
Make sure to follow both those guys and Benjamin Knibb on all socials. I can confirm for coming off air that Kudus, it's 55 million. It is a 6-year deal, and he's going to wear the number 20 shirt as well. The club have just announced that. Excellent. I'll let you enjoy that announcement. What a time to be a Spurs fan. It almost feels like, it's a dream or something's going to go wrong, but it's not. Let's think positively. But thank you very much for watching. If you're listening on a podcast platform, drop us a follow and a 5-star review. If you're listening on YouTube, please do like and subscribe. Thank you very much. And for now, come on, you Spurs.